Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to conduct the second mock interview on this channel. In the previous interview, we have interviewed a candidate whose experience was less than 2 years. Today we have a guy named Amol Yadav. His experience is 3 years approximately in IT industry, and he is having an exposure in UiPath, orchestrator and document understanding. Today we are going to have a mock interview with Amol. Prior starting the interview, I would just like to inform that this interview is not related to any job or any company. This is just a mock interview and it's purely for the educational purposes. Okay, so what is going to happen in the mock interview? I am going to ask certain question to the Amol and Amol will be answering those questions. At the end of the video, I will be giving the answers to the question which Amol has answered incorrectly. I'll tell that which are the areas that Amol needs to more work upon. During the videos, you will see the question on the screen and you can hear Amol's answer also. In case you are also aware of the answer, you can always drop the answer in the comment box. And in case you also want to have such mock interview with me, you can always drop me a note on the email ID which is mentioned in the description and we can take it forward. Having said that, let's get started. Hi Amol, can you hear me?
Yes, Mukesh.
Okay, so Amol, today we are going to conduct a mock interview for you. So this is just a mock interview and this is not related to any company or anything. But what we will do is we will try to assess you on the skills which you have mentioned in your resume, and then we will see what improvement can be done, and then we can take it forward. So before continuing, can you just introduce yourself about your professional experience? What are you doing?
So myself, Amol Yadav, and I'm having a 3-year experience in total in IT field. In which 2.5 years experience in the UiPath,
Mhm.
and I'm currently working in.
Okay. Okay. So total you have a 3 years of experience and out of this 2.5 you have in RPA UiPath. So have you done any sort of certification in UiPath?
No, I just only completed the foundation course and in academy.
You have completed the foundation one in the academy. So how many projects till now you have delivered in RPA?
As on date, total 5 projects.
Okay. And
I
the
can say.
status of 5 projects, it's all are production NFT. Where exactly are they lying?
Yeah, all are in production state.
Okay. So and apart from UiPath, any other technology that you are aware of?
I having a little bit idea about the C sharp at the
Okay.
beginning of a project I done I know about the C sharp language,
Mhm.
but 6 months experience, 6 months basic training I've gone through from the company.
Okay, so before directly jumping into the Q&A also, I have got your resume in front of me and I have seen that you have worked on a project which is something related to the invoice processing. So can you
Right.
just help me? What was this project and what was your role in it?
So this project is regarding to the invoice we have in that company.
Okay.
We have customers giving a number of bills, like you
Mhm.
can say it's a invoice. So we have a multiple invoices
Okay.
customer provided. What is the main role before that? What the customer do the manual process? They
Mhm.
just extract the details from the invoices, like what was the invoice number, invoice date, invoice pending amounts. So that kind of a details are they extracted and put into the Excel format, and after that they will send a particular Excel file to the company concerned person. Maybe you can say the manager and the top management.
Okay.
So we are doing in this project, we just automate this process, or we wanted to automate all this manual task. So for automating this task, we are using the latest feature in that is a document understanding,
Mhm.
which is used for extracting the data from the
Okay.
PDF invoices and just store into the Excel and send to the client.
Okay, okay.
How you
So
can say.
you have used the pretty new feature, which is the document understanding from UiPath. Can you tell exactly what is document understanding and how it is different from the traditional way of. So I see that you are reading the PDF. So there is already an activity which is called the read PDF, and then we have read PDF with OCR also. So what was the need that your project went to document understanding?
See, for reading, for extracting our details by using a document understanding is quite easy, because in my project the invoices format is different invoices is there. Format
Okay.
is not the same. So if we going through the by the traditional method, then it will take a lot of time for extracting that data, because we again need to, it will take more time for extracting a data, because we are dealing with the multiple invoices. Then again to it, according to it, we are going to make a different magazine activity need to be used. It will take more time. But through the using a document understanding, our document is by using this package, our document will be understand very easy. Like for example, we are executing it very less time, because the document understanding feature, our document will be understanding by using the what I call, because they are using the artificial intelligence feature also. So
Okay.
that extracting a data by using document understanding is quite easy.
Okay, okay. So now my next question would be, so when you start a document and understanding project, so I guess you would have imported some of the packages or some of the libraries in UiPath Studio, right? So what are the libraries that we have to import? So if I have to make a document understanding project, so let's say I am a 2-year experienced guys, and I have to start an project in document understanding. What are the prerequisites that are required to start a project in document understanding from a UiPath point of view?
So the prerequisites is, first of all, you need to install the package that name is the UiPath.intelligent OCR activities.
Okay.
Second is a Omni page for extracting a data for Omni page OCR is also then one of the activities.
Okay.
First is intelligent OCR activities package. Then second
Mhm.
is the Omni page OCR activities. These are the two dependency we need to be first of all install.
Okay.
And you can install also if you wanted to use the ML package. Then there's a one of the UiPath document understand.ml activities, something like that. There's a one
Okay.
activities need to be installed.
Okay.
So that's the three.
Okay. Okay. That's good. That's all. Whether it was an attended bot or an unattended bot?
That is a attended actually.
Attended bot, right? So assuming that today you trigger the bot at, so the user triggered the bot at let's say 9 a.m. in the morning, and at the 10 a.m. There is some exception which has the document understanding did not, got the exact data from the model. So how exactly these kinds of scenario did you cater in your process?
For validating idea, present validation status is there.
Okay.
For validating the whatever the detail they are extracting is correct or not.
Mm-hmm.
We have a present validation activities in
And what
document
what will
understanding.
that present validation activity do?
Actually, in document understanding, we have calling some couple of activities for
Okay.
extracting a data, couple of process for extracting a data.
Mm-hmm.
First of all is the taxonomy manager,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
we define what kind of a group and category and what kind of a document tab we are going to extract. Let's say,
Okay.
for example, so in document type we are mentioned
Mm-hmm.
what kind of a details we are going to extract it in document type.
Mm-hmm.
So once it will be there that after the taxonomy manager, we define what kind of a group and categories and document type we needed. For
Okay.
after that, we just after that use the load taxonomy activity.
Right. Right.
In load taxonomy, they just whatever the taxonomy manager having a detail
Mm-hmm.
like group and categories, what kind of a detail he wanted to extract. They using load taxonomy, we just get the output of the
Okay.
load of it. After that, we just resize the document and convert the document into text and object model by
Right.
using OmniPage OCR.
Right. Right.
Once it will be there, suppose we have that third activity is optional classified extraction scope. It means it will be used if our document type is mentioned is
Mm-hmm.
a different document type is there.
Uh-huh.
Suppose we are dealing with the invoices and some is there is related to some another kind of not invoices, it's just a receipt kind of a thing. So if we wanted to find out classify that document, then we use a classified document scope. We are using a keyword weight classifier according to the keyword waste keyboard according to the keyword name. We
Mm-hmm.
just identify what kind of a document type is. So that after that a data extraction scope is there for extracting the data. from the
Okay.
invoices.
Mm-hmm.
So in that we are using a in document in that we data structure. So for extracting data, we using I'm using a form-based extractor, which
Okay.
is basically used for the extracting a structure kind of a data. So we just putting an endpoint or whatever the API keys. After that, we just manage a template where we just create that template how they are extracting the data. After that, we configure it. So after this all thing is done, we just wanted to see how they correctly identify the data and all. So
Okay,
for
okay.
that, we are
So
using the
I
project
will just
validation.
stop you there, Amol. See, I see you have that understanding of every framework, so that is a very good thing. So my next question would be, so when you started this project and this project is at production, so what are the kind of documents that you prepare right from the beginning to the point it is available in production? So what are the set of documentation which you have done? So you can start right from the beginning. That is the keystroke document. So first of all, you would have received a keystroke document that how the process is being manually done, right? So what are the next set of documents? Just talk about the documents which you have made.
Document we are getting a PDD
Okay. What
after
is
the
the
so
PDD now? What
we
is the PDD?
it's a process definition document. Whatever the customer requirement is there, the
Okay.
business analysis they just taking all the requirements.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of a process we are going to automate? What is what kind of a process cover in the automation? What kind of process not going to cover the in automation? Like what is
Okay.
a scope of automation? What is out of scope of the automation? That
Mm-hmm.
complete detailing whatever the requirement of the customer. So
Okay.
in which
Okay.
they are including workflow and as well many things. After the PDD is made and signed up by the customer, they are giving the SDD. So
Mm-hmm.
Vinci Architecture basically made a solution definition design document in
Okay.
which they basically taught about the workflow,
Hmm.
how exactly our requirement is and how we are going to execute it in a flowchart format, in flow
Mm-hmm.
diagram format. They are mentioning everything, and also in that mention what is what kind of a thing how we are going to handle the exceptions, and many things is included. So it's act as a blueprint for any developer. So
Okay.
after the getting a SDT document, we just designed it out, developer.
Okay, okay. So this process. So I see you have mentioned in your resume that you have suggested stages to improve the bot performance. So what are those suggestions which you have given to improve the bot processing?
Suggestion is for I just in suggestion in my session is there because in the classified
Mm-hmm,
document data section job,
mm-hmm.
we just confuse what kind of extractor we are going to use,
Okay,
like form based extractor or machine learning extractor.
okay, okay.
So for me, I just given the solution we should go to the form based.
Okay, okay. So my next question is, so let's say you have already designed a project. Okay, so how do you publish that packet to UiPath orchestrator? So how do you publish a project?
For publishing a project, we have first of all we need to connect with the orchestrator
Okay.
using the URL and machine key.
Mm-hmm.
Once it will be connected, then we just go to the process and push the publish button.
Mm-hmm.
Once we put a publish button, their option is coming for the package name and all kind of thing. We just put it, click on the publish, and it will be come into the package section of Orchestrator.
Okay, perfect. So now just going back to your the previous automation where it was using that document understanding or anything. So there would be certain things in the project that would be changing, such as the email ID of the customer or so the folder where you have to read the documentation, right? So let's say today the folder is C colon data. Tomorrow we have to change the folder. So how are these things managed in your project, in any of the project, let's say? So I have seen you have seen many of the projects. So assuming that you are writing any automation and you have to save, the client asks you to save a document in, let's say, C colon data. Then tomorrow the client comes and say, now I don't want to store it in C colon data. I want to store it in D colon data. So how would you handle this kinds of scenario in a development?
For this, we have to change the file path.
Yes, yes. So
So
where, so file path, let's say, so in the right range activity, right? In the Excel application scope, we will use the right range activity and we will pass the C colon data, correct? And now we have published the package to orchestrator. It is running for last 3 months. Now the client is coming back and asking me that now I don't want to store it in C colon data. I want it to install, store the files in D colon data. So how, what is the better approach and how would the design should be? You got the question or you want me to reframe it?
yeah, I got the question. I think I should be make a variable of a file path, and
Okay.
whatever the file path is defined by the or what client, we just change the file path, and that variable is going to use in writing. I
And
just
how would we
file path.
use that variable? So how would the client use that variable? Because the project is in orchestrator now, right? So the project is running in orchestrator. So how would the client change it? Or how would you change it for that matter?
I don't know, sir.
Okay,
Idea.
that's okay. That's okay. We will talk about all of this answer at the end of the video. Okay. So
Okay,
the
okay.
next question is Amol. So let's say I am just automating an application. Okay. And for that, so assuming that I have to automate the LinkedIn.com. And to LinkedIn.com, I have to, so whenever we start, we have to provide the user ID and the password. So where should a developer store the user ID and the password?
For developer should be store user ID and password in asset.
In
We
asset.
wanted to log it.
Okay. And
Yeah,
what kind of asset it
in
would be?
asset is a credential type.
It is of the credential type. Okay, okay, okay. So do you understand selectors?
Yes.
Okay, so can you just give me what exactly is a selector? So how, what exactly, why there is a need of selector?
So basically, selector is provide a complete path of the particular UI element.
Okay.
Whatever the UI element we are going to extract, they
Mm-hmm,
are stored this data in the XML format. They
mm-hmm,
just store the address and attribute in XML format. So by using selectors, we can identify any UI element. And why the selector is needed? Because if we wanted to interact any UI element,
mm-hmm.
then suppose so there we need a selector. It's a feature. And
Okay.
how the selectors are we are going to make a dynamic. For
Mm-hmm.
dynamic making a selector, we are using asterisk and question mark for dealing with the dynamic selectors. Those element
Okay.
is dynamic.
Okay. So so now when we talk about selector in the context of selector, have you used the anchor activity sometime?
Yes,
So
anchor
what,
based.
yeah, anchor base, correct. What is, why, what is the requirement of that anchor base activity and when should we use it?
Suppose if our a selector is changes every time, like for example, if the our anchor if our anchor based selector is used
Mm-hmm,
where the anchor is static, but in the below the what I call where the at the basis of anchor we
mm-hmm.
just identified our particular UI element, then
Okay.
we using this anchor based selector in which we just first particular find a particular static the particular anchor. At the basis of this we just identify the sector you for this. Let's say for example those value are dynamic changes, then we take a use anchor based activity. After that we just find out the whatever the anchor is there, and after corresponding to the anchor they will find a particular trace the URL.
Okay. Okay. So now assuming that I am writing an automation, okay, and the automation need is that I have to simply, get an attachment which is coming in an email. So on daily 9 p.m. the robot will receive an email and it is held by attachment. So the automation is we have to just save the attachment. So what all activities will you use and how would the automation look like? So just tell me the activities which we should use to download an attachment from an Outlook. So let's say we are using the Outlook.
For Outlook, get Outlook mail properties there, get Outlook mail message.
And what is the
And
output of
for
get
the
Outlook mail message activity? What will you get as an output?
output we are in output we will get a mail message is a particular document what I call
Output. Okay.
uh, Variable
Okay.
type is mail message, and for downloading it, we using a save attachment property.
Okay. And in the save attachment, what would be the input for the save attachment?
It's whatever the input of whatever the output of get Outlook mail message.
Mm-hmm. So Get
That,
Outlook will give you one single email or a list of emails.
it will give a list of emails. Whatever the we are mentioning, how many emails
Okay.
we want.
Okay.
We just mention there in get Outlook mail message.
Okay. And then,
So
so
choice
then
is
let's say I have got 10 emails, right? So out of that 10 emails, how would I know that which email is having attachment? So I understand that
so for this.
I have used the Get
Uh,
Outlook mail messages. Now I have list of mail messages with me, right? So when I say list, I have 10 emails now. So out of this 10 email, how would the robot know that which email is having that attachment? So how can we write that logic?
I thought in get Outlook mail message there is an option of filter.
Okay, so what will
I
you
don't
specify in filter?
in filter. I think we are. I don't exactly remember right now, but in
Okay,
filter there is a option of dot PDF. What kind of a mail he wanted to get?
okay,
Sorry, I don't
okay,
remember right now.
okay, okay. That's okay. That's okay. So have you worked on orchestrator? So I see your most of the projects are in production. So you might have the knowledge of orchestrator, right?
Yes, sir.
So what is the difference between a stop and a kill?
Stop activity will smoothly close the process,
Okay.
and kill activity is used for abruptly close the workflow, and stop is for smoothly close the workflow. So let's say in our project,
Mm-hmm.
suppose we are deploy our project in Orchestrator,
Mm-hmm.
and from Orchestrator, there is someone from the robot pay whatever in job section, somebody just stopped a particular workflow
Okay.
using stop option. Then
Mm.
for this we have a should stop activity in UiPath Studio. So
Okay.
when the person using stop option, they just smoothly close the process using the should stop.
Okay.
But
Okay.
kill process we just immediately close the work.
Okay. Okay. So so I see that you have not done the advanced certification. So do you understand the robotics enterprise framework, RE framework?
Yeah, I have a knowledge.
Okay, so what exactly is the benefit? So why should one use the develop? So I can always code any of the process in a normal sequence, right? I can always do in a flow chart. I can take a normal sequence, right? Step one by one. So why exactly we need RE framework? Why? What is the need of RE framework?
First of all, if the process is a base of tariff, basically very good for the transaction based process.
Okay.
Second advantage is that exception handling from using RE framework is a very easy.
Mm-hmm.
So and also the manage of our files, manage our inputs. We just whatever input we wanted to do, just we just configure in the config file.
Mm-hmm.
So manage the inputs is very easy. And main thing is a exception and management using
Okay.
this RE
Okay.
framework.
So when you say exception and this management, so can you just talk about how exactly have how exactly one uses the exceptional handling in the processes? So what are the steps to do the exceptional handling? What activities do we use?
For exception handling, we have a four activity.
Okay.
First one is a try catch, second is throw, third is RE throw, and fourth is a terminate workflow.
Okay.
So try catch basically is used for whatever the activity we have a doubt that might be through the exception.
Mm-hmm.
We just put in the try block, try
Okay.
except block, and
Mm-hmm.
if the exception is there, it will be catches in catch block. There is
Mm-hmm.
a final section, it will be execute every time, no
Mm-hmm.
matter exception is there and exception is there.
Okay.
So and rest is a throw arithro. So arithro will be used in the along with the try catch, and
Mm-hmm.
the throw activity used inside the try catch, also outside the try catch. But basically it's a custom based exception. If we wanted to throw the exception with our customized message, then we use a throw activity.
Okay.
And the last is terminate workflow. Once the exception is there, it will terminate the.
Okay, okay, that's good. That's good. So now, when you say this exception handling and everything, right? So there are categories of exceptions. So I'll just give an example that there are some exception which are of system exception and something is called the business exception, right? So what is the difference between a system and a business exception?
System exception is basically related to the application, whatever
Okay.
we are using.
Mm-hmm.
And business exception is related to that our business related requirement. Let's say in
Mm-hmm.
business exception, suppose there is a one, let's say Google form is there where we wanted to mention the our mail ID.
Okay.
So sorry, not was the phone number we are going to mention.
Hmm.
Suppose by mistake the user is given the 9 number
Hmm.
in particular telephone, so it will not take because it's
Right.
related to our business requirement. It should be the 10 digit. It should
Hmm.
not be 9.
Hmm.
So that business exception will be UI RF framework will take count as a business exception. Some related to system exception related to a system. Whatever the, let's say we have wanted to open some one application, it
Hmm.
will take a more time to load. So
Okay.
what we generally done, we just again try to close and open it. So then the system is, then it will be the your RFM will understand it's related to the application related is there.
Mm-hmm.
So this is called account as a application.
Okay. Okay. My next question to you would be, so assuming that I am writing an automation, right? So let's say a web automation. Take an example of the linkedin.com, and you are extracting some data, but while extracting, there is a pop-up which comes randomly. Sometime it comes after the first page, sometime it is coming after the 10th page. So assuming that you have to extract the data for all the contacts, so all the contacts might be spanned across, let's say, 20 or the 30 pages. Now when extracting the data and while doing some operation, there is a pop-up which is coming from the website or let's say from the LinkedIn, which says that click OK to continue. Okay. So that pop-up, whenever the pop-up is coming, the bot will not be able to get the selector. So how do you handle the dynamic pop-ups which are coming at random locations? So you got the question?
Yeah, I got it. I need to be close the random pop-up.
Yeah. So you are
Yeah,
not sure that when exactly that pop-up will come, right? Sometime it might come, let's say, while extracting the third page. Sometime it might come while extracting the 10th page. Sometime it may come at the beginning of the extraction, right? But we know that that pop-up will come. Sometime it might not come at all. So that absolutely dynamic. So how do we handle such pop-ups?
for this, I am not sure, but I think for this is a parallel activity. I think is there for
Okay,
handling this.
okay, okay. And how would we use parallel activity here?
Parallel activity with some conditions. If the element exists, then it will be take the further action. We has used a couple of activities in parallelly,
Okay,
and using the condition. Let's say element exists, and if it exists, then it will be going to. Let's say first of all, it will be going to element exists. That if that pop-up is there,
mm-hmm.
so if it's true, then it will be put a if condition. If it's true, then it will be just close the pop-up, and if it's
Okay,
not, then it will be going to the next step. So by using this, we can do it. But I'm not sure. Actually, I don't remember. I just randomly someone did it, so
okay,
I
okay,
don't know.
okay. Okay, that's okay. That's okay. So I have seen that you have done work with the UiPath on the database also, right? So how exactly do I connect my UiPath to a database? Let's say SQL Server you have mentioned, right? So which all activity, which all package do I use?
For dealing with database is a one package is a UiPath.database.activity.
Okay,
First is.
yeah,
And once you install the package, then you will get a couple of activities in database. They're
okay.
like connect, disconnect,
Mm-hmm,
execute query,
mm-hmm,
and uh, execute non-query,
mm-hmm.
insert. Okay, so for if you want to connect the database, just you first of all use the connect activity.
Okay,
So you just go to the connect and configure connection, click on the connection wizard, and whatever the data provider is there, like let's say in cases, we just use the connect activity and write whatever the database we are going to use, such kind of a thing. We just configure the connection. What is the connection string? What is the provider name? And as output, we get a database connection. So we just store in a connection variable. After that, if you wanted to take the data from the
mm-hmm,
particular database,
Mm-hmm.
So we using execute query.
Okay.
And for if you wanted to insert anything, then use execute name query.
Okay.
After that, disconnect off.
Uh, okay. Okay. So now my second last question is, assuming that I have a process which is available in Orchestrator. Okay. Now the client wants me to run the process on every Monday 10 a.m. Right. So there is a requirement to run a process every Monday 10 a.m. So how would we proceed here? So every
We
Monday
just
10.
schedule
Yeah.
time-based. Yeah.
Okay.
For this, we have a time-based scheduler is there.
Okay. Okay.
For schedule activities there, we just we can schedule the process. We have a two kind of a triggering option. One
Okay.
is a time-based and second is queue-based.
Okay.
So we just use a time-based trigger option
Okay.
in which we just mention the packet, whatever process name,
Uh-huh.
and after that selecting a robot, and there's a configuration of the time. We just select the time zone, and according to the what kind of a time you wanted to schedule, you just
Hmm.
mention monthly, daily, yeah,
Yeah.
date
Yeah.
wise,
So when you do
as
the
well as we
time
can mention.
scheduling, yes, I understood. So thank you for that answer. That's correct. So whenever we are doing the time scheduling, there is an option which is called the advanced scheduling. So why is that advanced scheduling option is available? And what is that? Have you ever explored that one?
I think this advanced solution is the basically regarding to rejects something are using for
Not
configuring.
rejects actually. Okay,
Okay,
we'll
okay.
talk about it later on. No problem.
Chronic time based. I okay. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, so that's called not chronic, it's called the cron expressions. Okay.
Chronic.
Uh, okay. Okay, so that was about the orchestrator. And so my last question is, Amol, let's say in the RE framework, what happens that whenever we get an exception in the init stage, where exactly will RE framework go? So before going to that, how many states I have in RE framework? Total number of
It's a
states.
four step.
Okay.
First is initialization. Second is get transaction data. Third is process transaction data, and fourth is end process.
Okay, so you perfectly understand
Right?
all the states, right? So now assuming
Yes.
that there is an exception in the init state, where exactly the RE framework will go? Which
Go
is
to
the
the
next?
next state is end process state. Will be.
Okay, and what happens in the end process?
It will be close a particular application. If still process is there and close application, so it will be just close application basically. Whatever the
Okay, okay. So that completes my list of questions, Amol. Thank you for that interview. It was really good. Okay. So now I'll just directly jump to the questions that you were not able to answer. So the my first question was, so you know RE framework, right? You know the configuration thing. So when I asked you the question that where should I store the D colon C colon UI path or the folder name, that folder part should be stored either in the configuration file or as an asset, right? So it is just like
in
you didn't.
asset is the text.
Yeah, in asset also. So let's say you just have only one thing that is getting changed, right? So you can have an asset of kind string, right? String asset, and you can put the path if that is only one. But if you have lot of things, you will just store everything in the config file, and whenever there is a change, you just need to change the configuration file. Okay.
So once the configuration file is so should we again need to put the process? Yeah, only configure file is changes is okay.
Right. See, if your
Suppose
configuration file is inside the data folder of the project, then it is inside the nugget, right? In that case, you would have to
uh,
redeploy the nugget. But if your config file is outside the nugget, that means you have stored that config file in some other location, right? Let's say in a shared drive, which is in a controlled environment, then you have to just go and change the config location, config file actually. Okay, got it?
okay.
Or any questions? I think you get
You
confused.
see, I don't understand at that. storage location still. I
Okay.
config file, at the config folder I can do.
Right.
We get just go to
Yeah.
config
Yeah.
file, we just writing a path, and
Yeah.
it will be automatically take if the project is there
Correct. Correct.
required.
Right.
But
So
outside is
so
other.
default. So the default location for the config file is data folder. Correct. Data and config.xlsx. So in the RE
Yeah.
framework, what you can do is you can go and simply change that location to some other location. That could be a shared drive or any other location, not inside the nugget. Right? So assuming
Okay.
that you place the config file in Z drive, right? Z drive. So when I say Z, it can be any location, right? And you say
Hmm.
to the bot that now you don't have to read the config file from the data folder. You would have to read the file from the Z folder. Okay. So in my
Okay.
channel, you will find a dedicated playlist on the configuration files. You can have a look at that, right? So there I'm explaining how can you use the config outside the flow, how can you use the storage buckets, how can you use the JSON config file, everything is there, right? So to answer your question, you will change the path in the config file, and whenever there is a requirement, you just update the path. Okay, that was the first question. Now the second question was when I asked you about the Outlook mail messages. So the output is correct, so you would get a list of mail messages. You always has an option to put the filter out in the email. Also what you can do is you can use a for each loop. Okay, in the for each loop you will iterate all the mail messages which you have got, and then based on the condition you will use an activity called the save attachment. Okay, so these are the two ways you can iterate and get the data. So your answer was correct. The only thing is you can always have an filter option while reading the Outlook. So in the get Outlook mail message activity, if you just read the documentation, there is an option you can specify the filter. Okay, now the third question
Sir,
was
that part I don't understand. Sir, that part, filter
which
part.
one? Yeah,
So there's a filter option in Get Cloud or
correct, correct.
Outlook mail message.
Yeah.
Filter, what I need to put, like, when filter,
So,
what exactly mention?
so in the filter, you have an option. You can filter it with the help of a subject, right? You can filter it with the sender. You can filter it with, let's say, due date, importance, category, receive time, everything you can put,
At the
right? So let's
basis of attachment, we can filter.
attachment name, yeah. Not at the basis
Ah,
of attachment, but you can have the name, you can have the receive date, you can have the confidentiality. So see, there are 10 emails, right? Out of the 10 email, I know that I am going to receive an email only from the sender name Mukesh. So I will filter the email where the sender name is Mukesh, or I will filter where the date is less than today's date, or let's say 2 days tomorrow date. I can filter it on the subject. I can filter it on whether it is having attachment or not, right? So that filter is there, and if you are not getting in this filter, what you can do is you can iterate the mail in the for each loop, and then you can for each mail message in the list of mail messages, and then you write your logic and you save the attachment.
okay.
Okay, so that was one. So your next, the random pop-up thing, correctly answered. That is the parallel activity. Okay, with the help of parallel activity, what you will do in the one side of the parallel activity, you will write all your code, right? And in the next side of the parallel activity, you will write an code to handle the pop-up. So if the pop-up is coming, it will go and handle the pop-up. So how ideally we handle the pop-up? That we just say that continue on error equal to true, right? So we just put it in a try catch block, and whenever that pop-up is coming, if that is coming, it will simply click on that, and we will just specify that continue on error property to true. That means that if sometimes it is not able to even click on that, it can continue the execution, right? So that entirely depends on your execution and the kind of pop-up you are having. So you can either put that thing in a try catch, the pop-up thing in a try catch. So first step, you will put a parallel activity. In one side of the parallel activity, you will write the entire automation. In the next side, you will write the code to handle the pop-up. Okay, so that was correctly answered. The last question which I asked was the this regarding the scheduling. So the scheduling, that is not the regex, that is called the cron based expression, right? So if you will notice in the scheduling thing, we only have hours, minute, month and all, right? But now let's say I have a business requirement where I have to run the process on, let's say, date 3, 5, 7 and 9, right? Or I have to run the process on Sunday, Monday, Thursday. or let's say I have to run the process from only on the dates like 1 2 3 4 5, then 8 9 10 11, and then 31 30 and 31, right? So if you will see, this is not following any kind of the pattern, right? So in those scenario you will go and write a cron expression. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so in case if you want to know how do you write a cron expression, go to the channel. There is a video on cron scheduling. It's a small video. There I am telling how exactly do you read the cron expression and how can you create and how does orchestrator behave. So apart from that, Amol, your entire interview was good. Whatever question I asked, you were correctly able to answer, and as per your experience, that information is good. So I would say read more about the RE framework, right? So you have the knowledge, that is good, but I would say read more about the queues, transactions, how the scenarios and everything's are working, and try to make more of the projects, not from your enterprise point of view, but you can also make some projects by yourself. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the mock interview for Amol. I hope you enjoyed watching the video and you found this insightful. Thank you for watching. Please do subscribe to the channel and happy automation.